What's up, everybody? Mike McFarland here, going to give you a public rundown for August 26th. It's Friday. The lake has changed. Bob Seeley's coming to the lake to announce whether the Seeley event, Big Bass Splash, is still underway. It's quite an interesting Friday. And listen, out on the table right here, I got some goodies that I'm going to share with you. First thing I want to tell you is publicly, you guys know that I have a members-only channel, and I try and share, obviously, a lot more to the members, subscribing people. They pay $4.99 a month for it. But I also want you guys to know that I really, truly do appreciate your original free subscription. That's growing huge. We're over 3,600 people. I want you to tell your friends about it. I want you to share it. And today, I'm actually going to go ahead and tell you some of the baits that I'll be using right now, some of the cool stuff, and give you a little more information publicly than we have in the past. Okay? But as always, let's go to the board. Lake levels. We talked to you on Tuesday, Wednesday. The lake stabilized at 397.49, which puts us at about 5.5 feet low. We got a good 2 feet of water that really changed things a lot. It dropped water temperatures down huge. It changed water clarities in the backwaters. It kind of changed them throughout the whole entire lake, but you're going to find 0 to 1 foot visibility depending where you are. And now the lake is actually back, starting to fall again, 397.48. But really, for the last several days, it's been kind of stable, sitting, holding pool as everything's settled down. A lot of this is good stuff. First thing I want to do is talk about clarity. Right now, always remember that there's more than one way to skin a cat. So you can go all the way in the backs of any one of the creeks, and you're going to have dirtier water, okay? Much dirtier water. Chocolate water. Think noise when you're in the backs of those places. Spinnerbaits with lots of vibration. The fish in dirty water use their lateral line. They can't see as well. In dirty water, they're only seeing 0 to 5 feet. In clear water, they may be seeing 10 to 20 feet or more. So think noise, vibrations, rattle traps, square bills, spinnerbaits, buzz baits. Right now, the buzz bait bite is one of the keys. When we had that water down 7 feet, a lot of vegetation, out of water, shoreline vegetation, grasses, bushes, buckbrush, button willows, they grew. They had a chance to grow. They're now flooded. So you got a lot of flooded green junk. And a buzzbait is really one of the best ways to go catch those fish. This stays on top. It's something you can throw through and around all that junk. Doesn't catch as much timber or debris doesn't get caught up in it. And believe me, in the fall, a buzzbait bite is always a good choice. When you get fresh rainwater after a long hot summer, a buzzbait is probably the #1 bait to go fish. I can tell you by experience, number one, 2 things I'm going to share with you. Number one, the Berkeley event's coming. So if you take a buzzbait and you clear off the skirts, you can put Berkeley baits behind the buzzbait, and that is acceptable as a bait for the Berkeley event. But I'm going to tell you a learning experience that happened to me on Roosevelt Lake back in, I think, 2010. It might have been, I think it was 2010. But it was the only FLW tour event that I actually fished in my life. And Mr. Brent Ayler and I were catching bass in 35 feet of water with football jigs in practice. Keith Espy is the one that won the tournament. Brent Ayler ended up 2nd place. But my reason of sharing this is that we had the night of the ceremonies, the inauguration ceremonies at the Matazel Casino in Payson. It rained 3, 4, 5 inches, and the lake was destroyed. I mean, it got bombed, just like Lake Fork did last Sunday night. In very retrospect, now we didn't get a 2-foot rise in Lake Roosevelt, but we got enough. It muddied the water, it raised the water. There were landslides on the roads. There was Paul Hodges almost didn't even make it to the launch in the morning because of road slides and it just was an amazing deal. But the reason I'm sharing this is we learn a lot by experience in life. And I immediately start out fishing, and the 35-foot bite was almost obsolete. The fish were gone. And it took me till about noon to make the transition. Later that day, I learned that Brent Ayler made that transition within a couple hours. And that transition was a buzzbait. Chartreuse and white buzzbait in 0 to 1 foot of water in the newly fresh flooded water, fresh flooded timber. And that sustained Brent the whole entire tournament. and he ended up in second place when it was all said and done. But to realize that those fish that were in 35 feet, summer, long, hot summer, this was a September tournament, they left that 35 foot and came to that fresh water. This is follows right with the lesson, the thermocline lesson that I just shared with you, the turnover lesson that I just shared with you. If you didn't see it, go watch it. Learn something what a thermocline is. I gave a 30-minute lesson. I gave what a turnover happens. And you get all the blended water, and the entire water column is all the same. But this huge rainstorm and this huge flooding that we just had last Sunday brought the lake up 2 feet. And now the entire water column is one big, messy conglomeration of temperatures and dissolved oxygen. And the flooding was the best thing that could have happened. So right now we're actually catching fish in 1 to 20 feet of water on Fork. They're scattered everywhere, which isn't that good. It's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. But you got the catchable fish are the shallow ones. And if you'll just tie on a buzz bait and turn and burn until you get some bites or a bite, and then turn around, you should be able to find a section, a back of a pocket, a secondary point, a flooded flat is probably your best bet. A flooded flat next to some deeper water. It could be loaded with fish, and you can literally go back and forth on it for hours on end and catch all kinds of fish with a buzz bait. Another little tip, if you go through an area and you do catch a bunch on a buzz bait for say an hour or so, and the bite goes away, go back and pitch some little creature baits in the same brush and the same junk, and you might clean up a few more. Another great buzz bait, and I'm really kind of hesitant to share this because I didn't realize to discontinue it, but it's a Castaic TWT. This thing is really cool. I shared it the other day. It's a tungsten-based buzz bait that this blade strikes the tungsten weight. It makes a ton of noise, much more noise than any other buzzbait that I have ever heard of or seen. I didn't realize they were discontinued. I shared it with the members only. What I found that the big fish on Lake Fork, they don't like noise, and they're very territorial. And a Florida strain bass is kind of cuckoo in the brain, and when they're in a shallow water, they like to own that area. And especially the big ones. And they'll chase anything off. Snakes, mice, you name it. They don't care. They just don't like things coming in their territory. And so when you got dirty, dirty water, again, vibration and noise. Super noise. This blade on this tungsten. You can really have some of the most vicious big fish blow-ups. So when you're throwing your buzz baits, think noise in the backwaters, okay? I'm not telling you to go all the way in the backs of the creeks where the water freshly flowed, but I definitely would I'd start halfway back in the creeks. Start on secondary points and turn your trolling motor and just go. Just go to work, throwing buzz baits. All right, another secondary bait that I really think is good, and I know friends of mine are already catching them, is going to be, again, a buzz type bait. This is the Chapo, the El Chapo. You can have a whopper plopper. I'm sharing these Berkeley baits because the Berkeley event's coming, and you're going to want to be using these baits. But this is the El Chapo. It's a buzz type solid bait, kind of like a topwater plug, if you will, with a prop bait, a prop behind it. There's two things I'm going to tell you. You got some colors. You want the silver, the chrome, black and chrome on cloudy days, and your more natural colors or bone whites on the sunny days, okay? This is a cool tip for the public here. Don't usually share this kind of stuff with the public. For an example, this is the stuff, the money tips that are shared with the members only. The baby bass color, okay? Baby bass color in the fall is huge. The bass are born in the spring, and by the time we get to September and October, the baby bass are now about 2 to 3 inches, maybe even a little more. They're very edible, and they're very abundant. They're very juvenile, so they're vulnerable. And I'm telling you that sometimes the baby bass color in the fall is one of your best colors, even with a football jig. The big bass do eat their own kind. That's a members only type trip to just share with you. So if you're wondering, sometimes when I give you the basics of what's going on Fork, and I tell you that it's good fishing and there's a top water bite, and you want to know more, subscribe to members only. This is the details that you get. Okay? I want to show you a couple top waters. There's 3 versions of the top waters that I really like. Again, I'm going to go with all Berkeley stuff right now. I could tell you about the Vixen. I could tell you about the Zara Spook. I'm telling you these Berkeley baits because Berkeley is coming here soon. But the Berkeley Jaywalker in the 100, that is a typical shaped walking topwater bait. Again, bone white colors in the norm, chrome and silver colors when it's cloudy outside. Okay. You want to vary some size. You want to vary some different action to the bait. This one here is called the hijacker, and if you really look closely, you'll see that it's a different style bait. It's a completely different style bait. It's got a different shape to it. I don't know if you can really truly tell on this camera. It's a little more bulky. It's a little more bodied. So it's going to actually make a lot more noise and water displacement versus the Jaywalker. I apologize about the lawnmower. Bad timing. My lawn guy just showed up and decided to start mowing. I'm not going to stop the video. Again, two things I want to share about these walking topwaters. Number one, the profile. I'm going to give you a third profile. So these are profiles that I'm discussing. You have a 5-inch standard shape. You have the 5-inch, more round, more bulky. And then you have the real sleek bait. Okay, this is here. This one's going to be the drift walker. Okay, they're all the same length, but they're different body size. They're going to have different water displacement and different noise in that water column. A couple of things that are really key. Number one, again, here we are again talking about black and chrome on cloudy days, bone white natural colors on sunny days, shad pattern colors on sunny days, or just period. Anything shad in the fall is excellent. Brim colors are hard to beat. Okay, and then one super duper tip besides the black bass color is, I don't know why, but there's something about chartreuse blueback on fork. If you know anything about Lake Fork, especially when we're throwing crankbaits and square bills, the chartreuse blueback, man, the chartreuse blueback is the deal. It's the ticket. It's the same thing with the topwater, and I'm going to show you what I suspect here. Is the fact is we probably have, my UV light's going to be dead. We probably have some UV reflection happening here. Turn that light off for a quick second. I'll just see if they can see any of this. And so when you're going to have UV effects, you're going to have a lot more flash with that chartreuse. It's not a glow, but it's just going to have a lot more flash to it than the typical shad patterns or the chrome and silver. Okay. But there's something to do with the chartreuse blueback baits. When I was a child, I noticed really young, when I mean 10, 11, 12, 13, I used to be a magazine guru. I loved collecting the fishing magazines. And I don't understand what it was about it to this day. But I noticed that the cover picture was always a big bass and a pro holding the big bass. And whether it was a topwater, a spinnerbait, or a crankbait, there was something to do with chartreuse and blue. And chartreuse and blue catches big bass. Okay, so this was going to be my favorite choice right here to start out with, besides a buzzbait, right now on Lake Fork. I throw this on a couple things. I throw this on my new Abu Garcia rods. I now am using Abu Garcia rods and reels, and I'm using those via the Texas Insider Fishing Report. I'm sponsored and have a contract with Texas Insider Fishing Report. I do not have a contract with Abu Garcia. Under any terms am I contracted or in business with Abu Garcia. However, I am with the TIFR. And so therefore I have the choice to use those rods via TIFR. I'm grateful to do so. In fact, I'm flabbergasted. I'm loving it. They're great equipment. I absolutely love it. But what I usually throw all this stuff on is Power Pro. I do want braid for this. I'm going to be throwing this, especially the buzz baits, around the junk, around the cover, in the bushes, in the brush, and I want this braid. If I was pitching and flipping things, I might use 60-pound test. Instead, I use 40-pound Power Pro. Its cast ability is great, long cast, super strong. It does the job for me. And guys, that's kind of the gist of what I wanted to tell you in this public rundown. Remember, there's a couple things. Bob Seeley is coming here really soon. He is going to tell us whether or not the event is still going to be underway. The Seeley event that's coming here in 2 weeks. I believe he will. The Lake Fork Marina launch ramp is now back open. that opened up a lot of, the 2 foot of water opened up a lot of facilities that you can launch at from. It changed the danger of the lake. It's still 5 feet low and dangerous, but not near as bad. So I believe in good faith that Bob will still hold this event. I want to close you out with, again, the TIFR, Texas Insider Fishing Report. Check that out. It comes out on Valley Sports SW. It comes out on Fox.net. Every week there's a fishing report that covers everything from the coast to the south, the Midwest, the North Upper Fresh region. I cover the Upper Fresh region. I cover about 10 different lakes that I give reports on. By the time you watch the Texas Insider Fishing Report, you know what's going on in the state of Texas, okay? Captain Rick Murphy and Bree, they're so much fun to watch. They do such a great job. And again, I'm grateful to be on that team. I'm actually going to Florida in September with Brooke. We are going to be flying out. We're going to get to fish in the Florida Everglades on one day, under film, under camera. And we're going to fish in the next day for peacock bass, all under camera. And then I'm going to actually be live on the show. Instead of verbally via the phone, I'm going to be live on the Texas Insider Fishing Forum. And I believe that's going to be on the 20th of September. Watch for that show as well. And of course, watch for the filming and whatnot and what we catch both in the Florida Everglades and peacock bass fishing. And believe it or not, it was really cute because Bass Lady Brooke, Trout Lady Brooke, she said to me, when we're down there, can we use fly rods? And I said, of course. So I'm going to hopefully to make sure that our guide down there in Florida has a fly rod while we're in the Keys and in the Everglades. And definitely want to try and catch a peacock bass on a fly rod as well. The girl's hooked on the fly rod. It's Bass Lady Brooke and Fly Lady Brooke, Fly Rod Brooke. It's just fishing Brooke. She just fish. Other than that, guys, it's been fun. I really appreciate your public subscription. Again, I'm inviting you to the members only. There's one thing that you're not getting. You got a little bit of it. You got baits of choice right now. In the members only, I give the rule of 3, which is when I'm guiding 5 and 6 days a week on fork, there's some specific areas to be, and there's a lot of areas not to be. And so by the rule of 3, which is a 2-number system, 1 is dividing the main lake into thirds, 2 is dividing the creeks and arms into thirds. I give a 2-number system twice a week that tells you the most productive part of the lake to be fishing, both east and west. So please, give the members only a subscription. Give it a try. I just gave you some good information, but you want more? You want a little more details, like exactly where am I throwing? Which one of these colors did they eat yesterday? What's the pace? 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1, 2? How was I throwing this buzzbait? What was the trailer that was on it? How many fish did we catch? Where are the big ones? Members only, okay? That's what you get time and time again in the members only. I wanted again to feed you some good information so you know that I love you as a public subscriber. I really appreciate you. Hit the thumbs up, comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to film a members only next. So thank you. I'm Mike McFarland, giving you a public rundown.